think that makes it live.
You got to pop that out, too.
You want me to pop the chat out?
Yeah, because it's the only way I can read it.
Pop out chat. And you may make it bigger?
Yes, please.
I'll make the chat bigger. Must enlarge the chat because I have a small laptop screen. Right? Is that how this works?
I think so. Shut my ringer off. Excellent connection. We live?
Yeah, we're already live.
Oh, all right.
I should announce I think people know we're live.
Well, I don't know.
All right.
People.
Is that an ideal cable tester? Ideally it is. Welcome to Blog Thursday. The number are we at?
What do you mean?
207? Is it 207?
The chat's in the way.
Chat's in the way. 207. All right.
Greetings and salutations.
Hey, Mac Telecom Networks. You have done a video, and for those of you that are asking, because you keep asking me about it, I believe, am I correct in saying that you did a video on the UniFi Polar? I just haven't gotten around to really playing with it. I've told people, I think I've referenced people to use his video on it. So that's at least something people have asked me about. I don't have on my current timeline of things Tom needs to get done that to do. So, yes.
Yep, I did. Great. Dashboard, kind of cool. Hello from Holland. Thanks for the reference. Greetings from Netherlands.
Greetings from all over the place.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. And I titled this also, Thank You for 2020. So let's get the thank you out of the way.
You're welcome.
Anyways, let me turn my ringer off before it makes noise. I wanted to say thank you because I was going over the numbers for 2020. And what I was going to articulate into a different video, and I said I'll just do it here in the live stream where I can directly engage with all of you, is a big thank you because I learned a lot in 2020 from all of you. And that is where it was hard to articulate exactly into words, but in short, I learn a lot because when I post things, one, you have to be on your game because you're never as wrong as when you're wrong on the internet. Therefore, when you post a video and you make a mistake, I will absolutely cop to agreeing, yes, occasionally I made mistakes in videos and then I would make new videos and make those corrections. But it was also a two-way learning process because many times I learned in the comments and the replies something more from you about the product, about something it could do, or a similar related product. So it's actually, I just want to say thank you for all of that because it's actually been very helpful. But then it comes back to I'm going to make more videos with it, and it's kind of a nice vicious circle of that. So
vicious circle?
It's vicious.
Oh, okay.
Visceral,
most people are just saying hi right now. So the reason I'm on is because I was supposed to be on last week, but Tom made me sick.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I didn't make it on last week, so we're on this week.
Yep.
So I'm having myself a mimosa.
Something like that.
And cheering the fact that I have not killed him after a couple weeks being stuck with him.
We were quarantined together.
Yes, it was touch and go for a while there. It was not pretty. Not pretty. So...
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. We're happy to be alive and recovering. So
yes.
Back to work probably next week for me.
Yep.
Tom, as you can see, is already back at the shop. He got it, then gave it to me, and I was so much sicker than he was. So it took me a while to get back. So
I just slept for a couple days.
Yeah, I was down for the count for a week and a half. So
yeah.
So cheers, guys. Happy New Year, since I didn't get to wish you one last week.
Yeah, Happy New Year's again. Because was it New Year's Eve? I did it on New Year's Eve, so this is actually my first live show of the new year. So we can say Happy New Year's officially.
You should hijack Tom's video for financial consulting advice. We can do that. Yes, we did get the
word that will not be spoken,
yes,
or YouTube will have a big problem with it. So yes,
shows that we really love each other because I didn't kill you.
Oh yeah,
I think that's what that means. Yes, it was like I said, it was very touch and go for a couple days.
Is the rack slanted? It might be.
Yeah, it does look slanted.
I think it's just the angle that the camera's at.
Probably. But it does look slanted. Aw, isn't that sweet? Somebody says he found new love with his wife when they were quarantined together. Tom and I found out we don't do quarantine well. we get along much better when we're not in the same house.
Yeah. As long as I have something, Marcus is fine.
Yeah, he had a cold for one day and that was it. He
yeah.
had no symptoms, no nothing. So
one day and some sniffles, and he mostly played video games, which is what he
Mostly?
does when he's on
no,
quarantine.
he didn't
or not.
mostly. It's all he did was play video games.
Yeah, so that's all.
So
That's all fun and. Anyways, I have the ideal cable tester out.
do I still do mortgage stuff? Not anymore. I still have my mortgage loan originator's license, but I don't do mortgages.
Yeah,
She's
moved into.
I'm financial advising now, so that's solely. I go take my Series 7 test in a week and a half, and then I will be ready to go.
She has to help me figure out what to do with all my money.
Oh, you're funny. You're funny. You're funny.
Which is unclear still.
Lost sense of taste and smell. Mine has come and gone. But I can't taste savory, but I can still taste sweet. So,
Ooh.
Fluke Micro Scanner 2.
Yeah,
Is that what that thing is?
This is no.
Oh.
No, this is for
thought that was
some
something
testing I'm going to be doing with a upcoming video. That I'll mention right away, because I got the box over here.
Making money, pulling, swimming it like Scrooge McDuck.
This came today. This is exciting. Now, what this is called the Game Changer cable. It's fun marketing. Putting Game Changer to the test is what we're going to be doing. This cable is basically higher spec and better isolation between the strands and the windings. Therefore, it can go further than spec. So your standard spec for a Category 5, Category 6, Category 6A cable, the speeds may be different, but the distance is about 100 meters that you go with whatever that cable is spec'd for. This goes closer to 200 meters consistently, and because they use a larger diameter of wire, solid copper wire, you also are able to go further and have less drop off with PoE. So if you have a longer run that you need, this is a neat solution for that, and I'll be reviewing this. And they gave me a fancy box that it came in, so with some already crimped in so I can do my testing. So I'm excited to play with this. This is kind of cool.
Alexis says hi.
Oh, hey.
Hi, Alexis.
Hello, Alexis. But larger gauge equals different end connections. No, that's actually the thing. It is within the realm of Cat 6 and the spec that Cat 6 can go to. Cat 6 is not a how many gauge? Does it have the gauge on here? I'm going to break down. I got to make some notes to make sure I articulate all this properly. But you can go a step higher in Cat 6, but most companies do not. They usually can go up a gauge of size. So this is the maximum Cat 6 will work, and most end connectors will work fine with it. But it is at the maximum size of the spec.
Somebody says it will not pass Cat 6 certification process.
Oh, yes, it will. That's actually, yes, it'll pass certification. I messaged one of my friends who has a cable certifier to stop by to prove that. That's part of what I want to do for the video, is actually it will certify. I don't even know if I really need to do that in a video. I mean, they have literally, and it's on the back of this, they have all the certifications. They have gone through and certified this cable at that longer distance, which is really impressive that it will pass with a cable certifier. They have really good write-ups.
It's a nice box.
Oh, I certified that this box is nice too.
It even has a little hinge, everything.
Yeah.
It's a nice box. It's not just like those cardboard things in the other room.
Well, that's what it ships in normal cardboard things. This is just the demo box.
Ow. Be more careful, buddy.
But yeah, that's an upcoming review I have that's going to be on that particular cable, talking about it, doing some testing with it, running 10 gig over it, over 200 meters with standard, without having to go through the trouble of getting, Cat 6A. And even if it's Cat 6A, it's 200 meters, not 100. And that is going to be the exciting part. And the fact that it'll actually, go that distance with a cable certifier. I actually spent some time with their salesperson. Great person, actually one of the easiest sales people I've talked to. They reached out and it was actually a pleasant experience, which anyone who's worked in the IT vendor industry knows how you duck the salespeople, man. They can be viciously annoying. The salespeople were great.
You like the word
so-
vicious again. You like that vicious word today. Mm-hmm. Is that the word of the day?
Look, A don't pay. So those of you asking if it's A or B, A don't pay. I don't do government work, so someone will point out that government work will do the A standard. No.
Any idea when you might do a review?
Hopefully within a week. It doesn't take much to review cable. We haven't pulled any of it, but I am going to reach out to a couple of friends that have. I have a few friends that recommended this. They've pulled a lot of it, so I'm going to have a quick conversation with them about it to add to the review because I have not pulled it. We will probably pull it on a certain when we need it. It's not the cable you're going to use for every run. It's the cable you're going to use for a long run, but not every run. And I say that because it's got a substantial price difference.
That's what somebody just asked. Cost per box compared to normal Cat 6.
Roughly, it's about 1.5 or 2.5 times more. But this is where you have to do some calculations. It's more expensive, but what's more expensive? If I have a couple cameras, they're a great example, or Wi-Fi access points. And the options are A, put a second IDF in, so I can get to those distances, so I have to put an intermediary IDF in order to get to that extra distance, or save the money and just run a couple of these long cables. So it's kind of just a cost calculation so for certain scenarios like that, it makes more sense to do it. So you have these cameras scattered around like a warehouse. We actually have a warehouse job that I'm going to on Monday morning, and they want me to look at something. And one of the things that I'm guessing, is that they're going to want a couple things in some of the most remote areas of the warehouse. And this cable may be a solution for that because it's only a couple things they need. If you need a lot of things, sure, you put a second IDF in. If you don't, if it's like, I need 2 devices over here, 2 long cable runs at a more expensive cost of cable would probably make more sense. So that's it's just another tool to have in your toolbox to say, oh, I have this one run that goes to the other side of the shipping department. I'll just run this one cable there. It's cheaper than running a fiber over there. So, hey, they use B in the UK. You guys are okay with me then. Yes, it does carry PoE over that distance. The higher gauge cable means better. It's going to carry it that distance a lot better. You're not going to have the same amount of loss and drop off due to there. So, intermediary distribution frame, IDF. MDF for main distribution frame. So your back room where the servers are might be your MDF. And then if you, for example, in the shipping department at one of the companies that we built out, they have their server room at the front of the building, then there's the back of the building. There's a dozen people at the back of the building. You put a secondary IDF at that back of the building, and then you run all the other computers to that. And then you just have to do one. In the case of one of them we built recently, there's a fiber run that ties it from that back shipping office to their main front of the building. They're just kind of intermediary ways to distribute cabling.
Is there a benefit to using A or B?
Of using what?
A or B.
No, there's no benefit. You have to be consistent, or you'll have a lot of confusion. We have consistently adopted B, and so has most of the cabling industry. And there will be someone who will point out that AT&T and the government bodies, when you do some of those work, you'll run into a lot of things wired for A. But physically, no, you're not. There's not a difference in them in terms of the distance you'll get or anything else. But you do have to be consistent. If you stuck A pattern on one end of the wire, the other end of the wire has to be A patterned. And if you have one tech wiring one end and the other tech wiring another end, you'll kill the guy that did the other one differently. Always specify if you're using, yes, absolutely. Panels were using A and end devices using B. Yeah, there is times when people goof things up, and we have also seen standards that have not been invented, or not a standard, I should say, and they were used at other sites. We're like, how did they punch this thing down? We're like, they invented a new way. They were consistent, and it worked because both ends were also wired wrong. But we've definitely seen some stuff.
Hey Tom, thoughts on self-hosted UniFi controller on-site versus cloud-hosted off-site? Any thoughts?
I don't know which one works for you. I mean, It really comes down to where do you want to maintain it. We don't mind self-hosting ours and then our clients attached to it. That's not a problem I have. But for some people, the math may make better sense to host it off-site. Matter of fact, we have a property management company. They choose to host theirs off-site because that's what makes sense to them. They host it in a DigitalOcean droplet, and they have their property management, therefore, manage a lot of properties, and all the properties connect to the one central system, and that's what makes sense to them. Or for some people, they don't want to deal with the updates at all or managing the server, and then you reach out to people like HostiFi, who just take care of that for you. And Riley Chase has done an amazing job with that, and I've reviewed the product before. It works really well.
That's it. Nobody else cares about anything.
What's that?
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
Can you use Tone Tool prior to punch down the cables to get them in more logical order on the panel?
You usually do that as part of the pulling process. You pull them and group them to get the logical orders better. That's probably the easier way to describe that. You have to have a strategy when you attack the place. When you want to go through each area, you start grouping them and pulling back to the areas and labeling them like office group A, office group B.
Yeah, right on your cable numbers, both ends.
Yep. Write down the cable numbers. I'm always looking around because I usually have blue tape. I'm looking, there's like blue tape stuck on different things in here. Blue tape is kind of your friend. It's like that painter's type tape. You can just put a little piece around it, write the number on it real quick, because it's all going to get trimmed off and when it gets installed and punched down, but it doesn't really take much to label things and put them together that way.
Have you noticed any actual performance differences between any Type 1 hypervisors?
I have not taken the time, because it's very time consuming to do, benchmarking hypervisors. I think there are some people that have done it. I think Phoronix has done some testing on that. I know I have not done it because it's just such a long, arduous process of building out a system, running all the tests and the specs, then shutting it down, reloading it again with another hypervisor, and running the exact same tests again. It's just so time consuming. There comes a point when that's like 3 days or 2 days of just work, so to speak, that I don't know if I have time to do.
Is that cable shielded twisted pair?
I don't know. I didn't look which one they sent me. They have all kinds. It's called Game Changer Cable. If you Google it, you'll find it. You'll see all the different options they have. I didn't look specifically. I don't feel like digging around on the box to see what's in the box.
Was that Cradle Point versus Sierra Wireless for remote camera sites?
Whichever one makes you happy. I don't have an opinion on either one.
And what's your opinion on
Xpenology? I don't use it. I don't have an interest in using it. I either use the Synologies themselves. Some people seem to be happy with it. We would never deploy Xpenology at a client, so it's not something we really use.
What do you use for modems for coax to Ethernet besides provided modems?
We have a challenge specifically here in Michigan. Anytime you have a commercial, and maybe it's outside of Michigan too, I'm sure it is, when you have a commercial Comcast, they don't allow you to use third party on their commercial accounts. They've eliminated that unless you have a single IP. So any client that has multiple IPs has to get a Comcast one, so it's not really an option. We've used the Netgear ones on some of the non-Comcast connections. They seem to work. Netgear, and there's another brand I forgot, but I'm pretty sure the Netgear ones. I never think much about them. Most of the time it's the provider, especially when in commercial installs, we almost always use the provider ones.
Running one UniFi controller for all your clients versus running a UniFi controller for each customer site.
Running one UniFi controller for all your clients? It really depends. For the most part, yes. If we're the one managing the site, we're going to run the controller here. We'll host the controller. If they want to manage it, they want access to it. Nobody has access to our UniFi controller except for my staff, period. Because that question seems to come up of, hey, can you manage a site, but can we have access? The answer is no. The control plane is not accessible outside of our VPN. It is not publicly accessible. Therefore, we lock everything down. So if the customer wants control of it, then we'll host it on their side.
Major issues trying to keep Apple products on my UniFi. Did everything possible that was recommended. Just connect an Apple airport and call it a day, question mark?
Yeah, I don't know. I am uncertain what problem you're having, so I just don't know.
Netgear is one that requires now cloud login for all smart managed devices, right?
Netgear? I don't know. I don't use Netgear.
Let's see, what do you use for vulnerability scanning?
Xavier. I hire his company for it. I'm not a professional pen tester, so any professional level pen testing services. I've used OpenVAS and Nmap to test things myself, but for a professional level pen test that needs to be done in a serious certified manner, not playing around in a lab, Xavier.
You have any feelings on UniFi 6?
UniFi 6? Chris did a video on it. Watch Chris's video.
Have you done any commercial installs for Dante networks?
Never heard of Dante Networks.
All right. Let's see, what would be your recommendation to make various LOT devices available to both private personal VLAN and guest VLAN? Should I use a Pi hole or something different?
You want to make personal IoT devices on both, write rules to allow what you want? I guess I don't understand the goal. If you Nmap for finding network devices, and you can use Nmap not just for finding them. There's some more advanced. If you type in Nmap vulnerability scanning, there's some enhanced through the scripting languages that are supported. There's enhanced things that can be done with Nmap that go beyond just the discovery of devices. But yeah, Nmap is definitely a great tool because the first challenge is first identifying everything on the network and then just going through. Sometimes you don't even need to do a vulnerability assessment. You just need to go to look at the network and look at the devices, log into every device and say, what firmware are you running? Look up the firmware and go, oh, this firmware is 2 years old and has a list of things that need to be patched.
Dante is an Ethernet audio network for live sound and recording.
Nope, we don't do that, so. Oh, using my formula to use drops at a set rate works beautiful. Yes, it does. Makes your life easy, doesn't it? People who try to calculate everything down, it's just too tedious. Look up my network cabling bitting videos that have been shared quite a few times, and people are like, oh, this is an easier way to do it. I'm like, yes, this is how a lot of companies do it.
I need a Wi-Fi connection to an outside location that does not have local power for a point-to-point. What do you recommend for a directional Wi-Fi antenna?
That doesn't have power? Once you don't have electricity, I'm not sure I could recommend anything. I mean, doesn't have power.
Local power for point-to-point. I don't know.
Yeah, if you don't have local power, then I'm not sure. That kind of that throws me for a loop. You have these devices all run on electricity.
Get a solar panel, somebody said.
Yeah, there's WebMap for Nmap. There's also there's another really good front end for Nmap. I've done a video on it. If you type in Nmap videos on my channel, you'll find I did a video on this particular tool.
Is WAP3 important? Is it a letdown that UniFi doesn't support it yet?
No. I mean, sure, it'd be cool if they did. It's not ZenMap. That's the other one. That's the other one I've done a review on. ZenMap is a really cool front end for Nmap. Yeah, I don't do much in the AV space. That's probably why I haven't used Dante. Do they make a dish that blasts a beam? I guess. Yeah, UniFi does have a solar power thing. IMAP backup? No. What are you trying to back up? Why would you back up over IMAP? I don't have a suggestion for it specifically.
Let's see, for managing OTP passwords, use something specific, paid Bitwarden, or Ubiquity.
TOTP. I use TOTP and a separate app on my phone. That's how we manage all the... I prefer TOTP. I think the YubiKeys are cool. Maybe I'll move to that at some point. I like them. I don't dislike them, but they're also, I don't know, one more extra thing to keep track of. I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. I know I get 2 of them and I got to double all of them. I don't know.
Let's see. TrueNAS, how's version 12 working out for you? Happy with it generally?
What was that one again?
TrueNAS, version
Oh, yeah.
12?
Yeah, TrueNAS 12, everything's moved over to TrueNAS 12, and TrueNAS 12 U1 is out, so that's what I have right now. It works really well.
Do the Ubiquity switches have MAC address filtering?
I think so.
So the wife got an Apple Mini and wanted to segregate it.
You don't need MAC address filtering to segregate. That's not how you would do that. You'd put it on a different VLAN.
Let's see. Do you see changes sticking around even after the pandemic is over? For sure.
Yeah, working more and more remotely. Mm-hmm. How do you back up TOTP? That's a fair question. The tool I'm using is called Aegis, AEGIS. It's actually open source. I believe it's available for iPhone. I'm using it on an Android, but it's Aegis TOTP, and it creates encrypted vaults that you can export off of the phone for backup. Now, interesting, I haven't tried it in a long time, but Google has updated theirs, I've heard, to offer backups. I've not tested it. I've seen that in like notes that people had sent. And because I'm using a third-party tool anyways called Aegis, don't really need it.
This person says, I've had an IT business for 23 years and I'm tired of it. Mostly paperwork and stuff. You?
I delegate a lot of that out because I don't like that function. There's a reason I spend so much time deep in the weeds doing technical stuff. It's because I don't want to call people for money. I outsource that to a staff member. I outsource sections of the business that I don't want to do. I even still use an outside accounting service. I even had to have someone else help with some outside accounting services today that I didn't want to do. So I avoid mostly. There's certainly, as you grow as a company, there's definitely more paperwork, and I just will delegate it out because I don't want to do it. I like my fingers on the keyboard.
Yeah. Let's see. Thanks for the open source mesh VPN solution video. Could you maybe do some tutorial install on Nebula?
Oh boy, I've been working on that. So Nebula lacks any damn documentation. I also realized when I was setting up all the labs and the demos for it today in preparation for the video, the problem is going to be for some people, it's very much a DevOps engineering tool. Way more so than a tool that the average person might use. That being said, it's actually really easy to get stood up, but offers a lot of complexity very quickly. I like it. I'm going to do the video on it. I'm working on the documentation. I've actually been talking to the developer. And I also just been pouring through the source code. It's all written in Golang. I went through the source code and was finding all the extra switches and parameters and kind of following how things worked in it. That way I can make sure I understand it. So I'll put together a few things. One of the annoyances, for example, is going to be the fact that it doesn't have an installer. That sounds easy because you can just kick it off in the command line, but then you have to build your own service for it inside of Linux or inside of Windows. Each thing you do, or even in BSD, yes, it works on all the platforms, but it doesn't install. It's just a single executable. So you have to start building the services and the scripting around it to get it to actually start on startup. It just doesn't do it natively.
Somebody says, if you weren't running an IT business, what else would you be doing? You'd be doing YouTube videos, tutorials.
Maybe, probably.
Yeah, I know you would. What's best about FreeBSD?
Scalability, but that's kind of going away. I say losing its edge. Going away isn't the wrong word. It isn't getting less scalable, but BSD is previously more scalable and better support for certain aspects, like large table sizes for firewalls, which is why pfSense is built on it, and its support for ZFS was dominant prior to OpenZFS 2 for Linux. Those advantages are still there today, but they're obviously going away as Linux progresses and is able to handle those things.
Do you prefer Linux over BSD?
Yes. Just better support for hardware. I've been using Linux longer than BSD, but I don't hate BSD. It's just preference.
When will you do the TrueNAS scale video?
When TrueNAS scale is at least in beta, it's in alpha right now. Yes, ZFS support was better in BSD. Now it's on par with ZFS 2.0.
That's it. Nobody
That's
else has
it.
questions? No, they're done.
Oh.
All right, bye.
Oh, what here? I have all my Protect cameras and IoT VLAN along with IoT devices. What would you recommend? Set the bandwidth to? I wouldn't limit them unless you have some specific meaning to.
It's the meaning of life.
The meaning of life is humans
42?
doing, it's 42, or it's just humans doing arbitrary things for no reason, because that is just art and beauty. That's just watching people do something for no arbitrary reason, artists and things
Everyone's
like that.
saying 42 too,
yeah,
so yeah.
42 though.
It's 42. What do you think of Starlink?
Starlink's cool. I think Starlink is a great
Not
idea.
From Sailor Moon?
What? No. I like Starlink. I followed a couple people who have talked about it, and indirectly, one of my friends, his former boss, has it, and they've been sharing back and forth. There's still a lot of latency issues, but it does provide connectivity into areas that didn't have easy connectivity. So as long as latency is not a big deal to you, it's a pretty cool thing. If latency is a problem, then it's not a cool thing. I don't know.
Somebody asked your favorite movie. What is your favorite movie?
I don't have one.
Did you apply for Starlink beta?
No. It's not available where I'm at. I absolutely don't need it. I'm sitting right here with the options for 3 fiber providers, 1 site-to-site wireless on the building that's behind us. I know the people that run the site-to-site there and offered to give us a good deal on it, or 2 different cable companies and 1 DSL. We have so much connectivity in this area that I'm at that Starlink, there's not even a good reason to have it.
Any progress with Cisco C1000 and Stack?
Yes. Me and Willie are hanging out tonight to finalize some questions I had about it for the review. And I bring that up because it's going to be interesting. I cannot make it work. And I didn't really, my intention was not to call him out, but it was to hopefully get him to reply. And Network Chuck has not replied how he made him work in the way he made him work in a video, or allegedly work. I cannot repeat it. I'm going to have someone who is much more skilled in the Cisco ways, which is Willie. Willie's a Cisco, I think he's got all his Cisco certs and things like that, but Willie's going to log into these and confirm that I didn't screw them up. So I've had at least one more person, because I already had one Cisco person says it doesn't work that way. I want a second Cisco person tell me it doesn't work that way, because I don't like videos that are dishonest, and I'm aggravated.
Somebody asked your favorite music. Techno?
I don't really have it. I will admit, listen to the Darknet Diaries about Nerdcore and Ohm. I really like some of his stuff, but I like a variety of music. I don't have a specific and only music that I like.
That's true. You do listen to a variety.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Have I used Linux switches like Cumulus? No. Front-end suggestions for WireGuard VPN solution? Not really. I don't have any business use cases. Tailscale is probably the biggest commercial solution I've seen that uses WireGuard as a transport layer. For the most part, like from an open source DevOps, you're probably just going to script WireGuard yourself with however you want to script your deployment, Ansible or whatever. And if you are someone looking for a commercial tie-in product, Tailscale is quite popular. But I don't like the fact that Tailscale means they have access to your control plane.
Someone says they sent you a bottle of Ithaca kombucha hot sauce a while ago. Was it any good?
Yes. I had to think about that. Yes, that was a while ago. Yes, we liked kombucha hot sauce.
I love a good Halyard shanty.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm drinking mimosa. Let's see. Phone's ringing.
Any reason why not to connect NVIDIA Shield devices and or Sonos devices to the separate IoT VLAN? Yeah, if that's where you want them, why not? I don't use Terraform or Vagrant. Is there a WireGuard integration GUI for Ubuntu? No, I don't think it needs it.
What's a GUI?
Graphical user interface.
Okay.
I don't know that it needs it.
That was one of those big clams. you know?
Big clam.
You know, the gooey things?
Gooey. Oh, the gooey duck.
Yeah,
gooey
that.
ducks.
Gooey. That's
gooey
what
ducks.
I was thinking. So.
That Dirty Jobs episode is where we learned about those. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, each company kind of has to do their own implementation for WireGuard because WireGuard also does not, by its own native nature. Matter of fact, this is the thing about WireGuard. Everyone's like, oh, look how small the code base is. And I'm like, it's when I really started digging into WireGuard and did that video on it, well, of course the code base is small. It doesn't have the features of other VPNs. So that's like cheating to say that they have a small code base. I mean, granted, it is a very narrow protocol. Also, by the way, WireGuard has very few different ciphers it supports. When you look at something like OpenVPN and look at the number of ciphers that are supported in OpenVPN, that's where all the extra code comes from to support all the different implementations. WireGuard supports a cipher. It's like, here you go. This is all you get. What about username and password? We didn't do any of that. What about firewall? Not our problem either. Just they left all that code out. It's a nice, simple, elegant solution. I like WireGuard, but it's going to take a while for it to mature into a product. And this is where companies like Tailscale come in to actually build structure around WireGuard to make it viable for businesses to use or end users to put it into their system and want a standard user interface for deploying it.
How do you accomplish proper change management?
Very carefully.
Have you tried unsupported Go WireGuard plugin for pfSense, or are you waiting for official BSD kernel support?
I am waiting for official BSD kernel support, but I also don't care a lot. And I say that in a weird way because it's not like I have people clamoring for WireGuard. It's faster, but split tunneling VPNs solve most of the problems, and it's not like all of our clients are out of bandwidth. So it makes the hardware last a little bit longer because eventually they will want more bandwidth, and if we can update their pfSenses to eventually have WireGuard in there and then redeploy their VPNs. But I'll have to really see how they tool it inside of there, because when you look at how it's tooled inside of Untangle, you have to build WireGuard tunnels for each person. It doesn't have, once again, a username or password management system in it. So it's not like a drop-in replacement for OpenVPN. Now, for site-to-site VPNs, it's going to replace IPsec rather rapidly. I feel that it will just make IPsec problems go away, and dealing with setting up your phase twos and lining everything up properly in IPsec, you'll be like, oh, I just WireGuarded this in magic.
I lost track.
You did.
Yeah. My eyes are watering.
Why are your eyes watering?
Because you made me sick.
Oh. Katie and Gnome should have WireGuard configuration plugins for the network managers. Maybe.
Let's see. Favorite programming language?
I don't program. I am a pull stack developer. I just pull crap off Stack Exchange and assemble things. I'm not really a programmer.
Any recommendations for a switch for 10
gig network with PoE and SFP+? Mm-hmm. Not really. There's not a lot of them out. I mean, UniFi makes some. I think MikroTik might make a couple. I don't have one I can just name off the top of my head.
Is there a WireGuard integration for GNOME Network Manager like OpenVPN?
I don't think it's officially supported yet like that, so...
Have you tried bridge networking through zero tier on Nebula?
Not. So I don't really mess much with the bridge networking on either of them. Both of them support bridging. It's not their ideal use case. Like you can add, in zero tier or Nebula, you can add extra routes so they can, when you get into a device, it can then route over to another device. But it's not something I spent much time with. It goes outside the use case of where I usually solve problems with it. It's not. It is a feature that's cool, that's built in. It's probably not even going to be part of my demo when I do a Nebula video.
Let's see. Oops.
Here, just scroll back up.
I'm trying. I don't like your thingy.
That better?
I think, nope, you went way too far up. Maybe.
No.
Okay, I lied.
Oh, yeah, right here.
Okay. All right.
Oh, someone donated money.
Thank
Biker
you.
Chris, thank you for the donation, $5. Thank you for answering TrueNAS Qs. Happy New Year to both of you.
Are you concerned about security with split tunnel?
No, not at all. This is, unless you absolutely are monitoring the north-south entirely of a client, and you want everything to go through yours, which generally speaking, I don't think that's effective. And if you want better proof, we'll just call that proof SolarWinds when every company missed the north-south and the movement going on there. So it's generally more problematic to not have split tunnel. Split tunnel was something we actually reconfigured a lot of people last year in 2020 to start getting the traffic. Everyone wants to listen to music or watch YouTube. And anyways, if they're doing a work laptop, it's usually locked down and limited on what it can do anyways. And then you put endpoint management on it. So that way the remote workers aren't just working on some random computer. You should never have some random computer with VPN credentials into your network.
Does Zero Tier have a function to self-host?
It does, but it's complex and not easy. I think someone built a Docker image to do that, though. I think. It's called, like, I left the link in that video where I talked about VPNs the other day. I don't remember the name of it, but I left the link to the software. It's called Z-Tunic. Someone wrote a Docker image for it. I have no idea if it's good or bad or other.
Why do women hate tech? Women don't hate tech at all.
Yeah.
Women love tech. Women just, well, it's not much different than actually financial advisors. Financial advisors are very male-dominated.
Yeah.
Very male-dominated. Banking, financial advisors for years. It's difficult to get into. It really is. It's difficult to get your way made through it because it's so male-dominated. So I think it's just I don't think they hate it. I think it's a bit of a turnoff trying to compete.
Yeah, you're the first person in there. It's like the awkwardness of, my friend, when he did his Cisco classes, there was, I think he said 33 people and a single girl in there. And so there was an awkwardness to being the only person different from everybody else. So that, it plays into it. It's slowly, but if you look at the cybersecurity space where you have a lot more independent researchers and a stronger female community, you definitely see a lot of them. So there's not any women hating tech, but as far as people getting into it, there is the challenge of very few people in the industry. So yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it does. It gets hard to get taken seriously too if you're a female in a role that is male dominated.
Yeah, but cybersecurity on the other side is actually is like 50% female right now. It's pretty amazing when you look at the researchers that are doing some of the really high-end stuff. Some of the top talent in that there's a lot of women that made the 10 list for some of the best cybersecurity research, some of the discoveries of new vulnerabilities, and some of the write-ups on these, and including some of the hardware hacking. So it's not just software cybersecurity, but like hardware level hacking.
We're always going to find your shit out.
Yep.
Pepsi or Coke? Tom doesn't drink soda.
Tailscale adds stun and IceNat traversal. Yeah, Tailscale is got all kinds of... They got a write-up that I read the other day of all the details. They're using everything to get the connectivity working.
Let's see.
Did remote support grow in 2020 because of the events of 2020? Oh, yeah. Well, we were already doing it, and we're also on a growth path anyway, so our growth path did definitely get accelerated.
Here we go. Alrighty. Asking the real questions here. What does that say? Interested in more videos on how charge manage clients do a flat rate and can call all they want.
Flat rate? We don't do that. The all-you-can-eat ones. The way you do it is not a business model I'm as much of a fan of. I know it works for some people. It's just not my choice. I'm not saying it's a bad choice. If you do those, all-you-can-eat is usually the term in AYCE type contracts. They charge as much as $300-400 I've seen per seat. You charge a very high amount, and anything that client does means you'll take and just deal with it without ever billing them. There's books on it. There's a couple, look up MSP books. Kevin Pulchek? I'm trying to remember. There's a couple, Google MSP books. There's all of like 3 or 4 people that wrote them, and you can read about those type of contracts.
What Nebula are you talking about?
Nebula networking. Type in Nebula Slack or just watch my video, probably the video I posted before this one. You'll find, I break down how it works and what it is. It's a specialized type of VPN.
Males are generally wired for jobs like IT. We are much more logical. I will actually totally call you out on that one.
Yeah, that's absolutely incorrect.
Logic is not male, female dominated.
Nope.
Logic is per person. So, any opinions on running virtual for eNAS, TrueNAS?
Never run virtual for your NAS. I tell this people about once a week. I tell people not to do it. And the funniest part is how many people contact us for support because of all the problems they're having running it virtual. And I tell them you can't solve some of these problems. It is extremely buggy. I say not to do it, and then they try to do it. Someone was tagging me in Twitter today about wanting to do it. I'm like, don't ask me to support it. I mean, and you'll just get flamed into forums for, oh yeah, that's a very problematic way to do it.
Did I miss the cable tester review?
I wasn't reviewing the cable tester, but I have. If you type in
He just likes playing with
ideal,
gadgets.
I just like playing with gadgets. If you type in ideal tester on my site, I have reviewed this cable tester.
All right, let's see. Go watch Snubs.
Snubs knows her stuff. Snubs from Hack 5.
Yep. All right, I have a hybrid approach. Affordable, I've learned I can't include everything. 3 tiers of service. Fair enough. It's okay to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can you make a video about pfSense, OpenSense, IV?
Nope, I don't use IPv6, so I don't do videos about IPv6.
Tom, when does she see something you don't like? Is she being a pain in the cast?
Sure.
You are not the first person to actually say that or use such references.
Yes. Carl W. Polchuk, Managed Services in a Month. Read the book. You get an idea of how to do those type of contracts.
Somebody, MKD.
Oh yeah, right here.
Thank you.
Thank you for the donation.
Yes, very nice. Let's see.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to say your name, right? I'll let her try.
Pelifrey?
Pelifrey. Okay, we'll go with that.
All right. Cisco or Ruckus?
Cisco or
Unify layer
Ruckus?
3 switching versus something like Cisco or Ruckus.
I mean, Cisco or Ruckus are going to do way better when it comes to the layer 3 switching. UniFi has done a sad attempt at layer 3 switching.
Oh, he's just putting how much. Let's see.
Have you tried Pocket? I've looked at Pocket Ethernet, never used it. I don't know, maybe one day.
Thought the Stream froze. Oh.
No.
Let's see. Duplicati backup. Do you recommend this software?
If you want to use it, I don't use it. It's not something I would use commercially, but it's a neat little tool.
What are your thoughts of a SD-WAN?
SD-WAN works good. I've done videos on Zero Tier, which is kind of an SD-WAN solution. So it's kind of like saying, do you like networks, Tom? Sure. You got to ask a more specific question in order for me to answer that in a more concise way.
Not overly impressed with the UniFi layer 3 switches, but remember still in alpha.
Yeah. I don't think it's coming out of alpha.
Do you miss the DOS days?
No. I don't look back fondly on old technology going, I wish it was still old and difficult. I like it more complex and more difficult like it is now.
It's prettier.
It's prettier now. There's LED and RGB lights.
Have you ever used SnapRaid?
I have not. And I have not tried the Ingenious APs. I don't like the fact that you have to deal with their control plane. Their hosted one. I don't believe they have a self-hosted version anymore at all.
I'm just reading.
SD-WAN's a buzzword. SD-WAN is used to describe features. But it's
cell phones. Sorry.
People stick it on everything because software-defined WAN is software-defined WAN. I guess it's a buzzword. It's like they put the word blockchain in everything.
Yes.
It seems to be fading away, but it's coming back again.
My eyes are watering again. Good to see you both. Hope you're feeling better. We are. Not 100%, but we are getting there. So.
He'll stay in alpha. Yeah. I agree with Mac Telecom Networks that it will stay in alpha. Pagers and payphones. I don't know, man.
How is your customer base with your company local or more international?
We're all of the above. We have a local client base and we have an international client base. The mostly international stuff is going to be just consulting work. We do, though, MSP work inside the U.S. I'm not as clear yet, and I don't want to be yet, on the laws of doing MSP work outside of here because it runs us into potential problems I may not understand. But doing remote work for people in Europe and England has not been a problem at all, or Australia, I mean, wherever. Mm-hmm. And because it's usually just, hey, here's some time, we just want to buy some consulting, or can you help me unflatten a network or do something like that? And it's, project based.
Yep.
What software use for backup? SolarWinds Backup.
Are you using some pipeline tool, CI/CD, etc. for your internal stuff?
I'm not understanding the question, maybe. So, I don't know.
You don't know? Are there any good open source backup solutions for Linux servers?
I never back up full image on Linux. I mean, I back up full images of my virtual machines, but I don't. My backups are all kind of like Rsync or sync thing. Like, you gotta like take an example like UniFi. UniFi runs on Linux. UniFi creates its little UNF backup files. I take those UNF backup files and I sync them to a backup server using SyncThing that also runs on there. So you back up the data on Linux. You make the servers rebuildable, so the server doesn't matter, the data does, so you only need to back up the data, not the full image.
All right, let's see. More videos with...
Hey, Doug! Woo!
Doug.
Doug.
Like Bob and Doug?
No, Doug Pettigrew.
Oh, hi, Doug. How you doing? Haven't seen him in a hot minute.
More videos of MikroTik. Maybe eventually I'll do some. MikroTik. Everyone loves those.
Does he?
Good to see Doug.
Yes.
One day I'll see Doug in person. Me and Doug were supposed to go to lunch, and then 2020 happened. But
yeah.
2020. The world still hasn't ended yet, so me and Doug can still go to lunch soon.
All right.
Rsync, yes. Yeah, Rsync works rather well too. Rsync with a cron job is something I still use probably at a couple places where I have to grab data. SyncThing is nice because you just I still have things scripted with a cron job. For example, like any of our database backups, kick off with a cron job, drop into a folder, and then SyncThing goes, hey, I found a file, and let me send it over here.
Doug says he'll take a 1-year rain check.
All right.
That'll work. That will work.
Yep.
Suggestions for local open source NVR?
None. None that I think I would ever use commercially, even not commercially. MI is kind of a neat one. I've done a video on the Raspberry Pi running MIOS, Motion iOS. I have a video on that. Matter of fact, a few people were commenting on that video today. It's a pretty neat system that kind of works like an NVR. I break down how it works with multiple Raspberry Pis. What else do we have here?
Is this the only technical question, or can Tom help me solve some childhood-based issues I have?
Oh, I'll help Doug.
Good luck with that. He's got his own that he's still dealing with.
Well, yeah, me and Doug are we share similar sense of humor and a love for technology, so we can definitely, anytime me and Doug get together, we nerd out. So we have nerded out quite a few times over all kinds of fun stuff, and we're both rather animated at it.
Do you think all the PCs in the Capitol should be replaced after yesterday's incident?
That is they will undoubtedly be reloading all of them. From a cybersecurity standpoint, there's a lot going on. Now, for the most part, there's not anything of high secret levels that are... TechCrunch did a good breakdown of this, by the way, of high secret levels that was at that particular location where that incident occurred. But they will just re-image and reload them. So I don't think there's too big of a deal. Probably some staff emails. That's all that looked like they had access to, or some staffers had wandered off from their desk. But if you're familiar with working within the government at all, or the military, or anything where there's high levels of secrecy, they build SCIFs and they lock things down in a very tight way, in a very modular way. So it's how the government segments everything.
Wandered off understatement, yeah. Most memorable story in starting your business.
Let me mention here. Andre, thank you for the good tutorials. Awesome. Thank you for the donation, Andre. It is greatly appreciated. Donations get read first. I don't know. War stories from starting the business. Everything's hard when you get started. For the most part, I had it kind of easier because I'd already worked in a corporate, and I turned my corporate job into my first client. So I had an easier start, but you still spend time hustling because you're young and no one believes that you can do the things you say you're doing, etc. So I don't know if I have any specific stories about it really.
iSpy is also a good NVR.
Yeah, I've not tried. It's been a while. Last time I looked at them, there's a couple. There's one that has a more unusual name because I know my staff had tried it. There's a couple of them out there, but none of them felt very complete or seemed to work particularly well. I don't know if that's changed.
Used to have an Bluetooth IE device that if you wandered off, it locked the terminal. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of them don't do that. $20 from Nathan Cook. Thank you, Nathan.
Awesome.
PFSense support double WAN for double bandwidth.
Double WAN does not do double bandwidth. That's a misunderstanding. And Happy New Year. Thank you for the donation, Nathan Cook. Have you come across any new sauces? I will admit that what's the name of that one? I will grab
garlic one?
Yeah, that one.
The garlic one's good.
Hold on. What is that garlic one called?
I don't know. What are you asking me? Oh, the stuff you buy by the gallon?
Half gallon.
Half gallon.
Because you did the donation, let me tell you. Let me share my love of this hot sauce. And if you don't think we love
It's not even hot.
It's not that hot. They make a habanero when it's a little hotter, but they don't sell it.
That one's just a very good flavor.
We've now gone through 4 half gallons of this stuff. Pepper plant Chucky garlic. All right. There we go.
Have you tried any Carolina Reaper things? Yeah.
Yeah, I've had them. At some point, it's not really for me about the heat. I like things that are hot, but this stuff.
It has to have flavor.
We drink it. They're, in the most literal sense of that term.
Sauce.
We drink a lot of hot sauce.
And they go through a lot of it. And he always fills a bottle and brings it home too of it.
Yeah, we buy them here at the shop, and then we sneak a bottle home and then do it.
Yeah, because Marcus will drink that stuff like it's going out of town. Yeah, it's a big hot sauce. I just got a Blackstone. Will there be a tutorial video on how I should set it up?
I don't know what a Blackstone is.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
What
Well, neither of us know what it is.
Let's see. Isn't that something you cook on?
Have you tried any remote KVM? No, because our commercial clients have IPMI or like Dell iDRAC commercial. Actually, a lot of them have Dell iDRAC because we have a lot of Dell servers that we support for clients. So we don't really need that. It's a neat idea, but I always prefer to have something that's a lights out management. Lights out management, I think, is actually the HP term for it. Dell calls them iDRAC. Highly recommend it. It just solves all those problems. And if you get the ASRock, makes a series of boards called ASRack that also have that built in. And same with Supermicro. I have like that little Supermicro. I don't feel like reaching it right now, but it's sitting over there. That also has IPMI lights out KVM on it.
Doug says it's a big outdoor griddle.
Oh, okay.
That's what BlackRock is. So, yeah.
Neat.
All right. We'll see you later, Doug. He's got a skedaddle. So, thanks for answering the question. Thanks for the donation.
Thanks for answering questions. We'll try to set up a Pi Forward 0 tier, self-hosted, and an Nmap script. Cool. That is, thank you for the donation. Joris Van E.
Okay. Any recommendations? Remote desktop tool for supporting users WFH.
IPKVM, I have used Redtarian. Those are kind of neat. I've seen the Redtarian ones before. I've never used them. I've seen people that talked about them. I don't think I've ever logged into one.
Let's see.
Yeah, HP has a lot of licensing stuff on there. Also, HP has the most ridiculously stupid long boot times. That's one of the reasons their servers kind of suck.
How many toilet breaks do you and your staff take with all the hot sauce you guys drink?
I don't know.
I'm just glad they do it here and not at home. That's all I'm glad about.
Uh-huh.
Do you know Clubmate?
Isn't that thing on iPhone? I don't use iPhone. So I think that's an iPhone thing.
So, guys stole a bidet, right? Holy crap.
Yeah. Get a bidet. Future stuff.
Yeah, right?
What else was I going to ramble about today?
I don't know,
Hey,
but my
it's-
eyes are watering really bad, so I'm going to have to take off in a minute because I can't even see. I'm telling you, you made me sick.
Probably. But you were eating all that hot stuff there.
I think that's what did it. I came in earlier and I made myself some spicy noodles before we
Yes.
started, and so my mouth's all red. And yeah. What's your next phone going to be? Tom likes the. He does the Pixels.
Yes, whenever I get a new Pixel phone, she gets my old Pixel phone.
Yep. So he upgrades. I get his old one.
Pretty much. She
Makes
gets
us
my
happy.
hand-me-downs. You can quickly go bald working with HP servers. Yes, I'm not a fan of HP servers. They are not on. I have clients that have them, and we deal with it. When they are gone and out of warranty and out of life, they will not be replaced with other HP servers. Matter of fact, we just quoted another company replacing their Dell servers with new Dell servers. Dell's still been our go-to. They just are easy to deal with. They're consistent. I understand their modeling. I'm actually going to be racking some Dell servers for another client on Monday. We tell them, whenever if the client orders them directly or we're ordering, same thing like I mentioned earlier, we get the full enterprise version of iDRAC, so we have the lights out management. It makes remote management easy. It's just a solid solution that just works.
What server vendor do you prefer?
Dell, that's a delayed thing, so yeah, definitely Dell. They just when it comes to servers, they are just one of the easiest companies to deal with. And when a Dell, if you only buy a short warranty, which sometimes I do, because if you buy one server with a decent warranty and one server with the minimum warranty, you buy two servers though, and then you can just swap parts between them kind of as needed.
Are you aware of large delays for TrueNAS equipment? 6 weeks delays to ship.
That's common. I mean, so it all depends on inventory. It took. One of the last sales we did take a little bit longer. One went faster, one went slower. It kind of depends on what part you're asking for and the availability of that particular part.
Have you tried Fujitsu servers?
I have not. I haven't seen a Fujitsu server in a long time.
The issue is somebody has Dell replacing parts. Do you end up buying refurbished most of the time or new from Dell?
It really depends. We buy both. If we get refurbished ones, we can get some really good deals that we've got from like Tech Supply Direct. They still have like 740s, which are current. You can get servers from them that are maybe even a year old, so there's still plenty of life cycle left in them, and it's amazing how much you save compared to buying new.
Somebody says they need more Tesla videos. I've actually been driving the Tesla, so
Yeah.
I've been doing videos, but I've been posting them on TikTok. So I discovered TikTok.
Yeah, she figured out TikTok.
Yes. Play any fun card or board games with the family over the holidays. We've been sick over the holidays, so
Yeah, we're
no,
all
we
sick,
haven't
so
done
we didn't.
anything. But we do have some, hopefully, we've been talking to friends. We're going to get together soon. Now that we're all free and clear and everything else and safe to be around, we're going to get together and play some card games and things like that. We want to try that Hot Ones game.
Yeah.
But at home, we mostly play like Cards Against Humanity. So that's always fun. Let's see. Are you going to let Tom have the Tesla back? Eventually. It's not that I even took it. It's just I drive further than him now. I drive down to Toledo from where I'm at for my training and everything. So it's just easier for me to take the Tesla. And my Jeep's a gas hog, so.
Yeah. This is the other thing. She didn't try these noodles, but
No.
these noodles are good too. This is I think I posted this on Twitter. It's the dry back ghost pepper noodles. These ones are particularly good too.
Hi, Jim. Greatly enjoy your videos. No questions, but I'd be actually encouraging to expand knowledge and skills. Thank you for the donation.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jim Taylor.
What restrictions do you guys have generally in your area in the U.S.?
Right now, all the restaurants are shut down still, right? I don't go to restaurants.
Yes. No, not, just in Michigan.
Just in Michigan.
Toledo's open.
Okay,
Ohio's
Toledo's open.
No, Michigan is just restaurants. You can eat outside. Just
Yeah.
indoor eating. That's about it. That's really it. So, what's the Tesla service center situation in Michigan? We just had it fixed, actually.
Yeah, they come to you still. They don't have a service center yet in Michigan. They're still, the laws are confusing. They're still fighting them on that.
Kyle says I need to try those noodles.
Oh,
I had
they're
the
good.
other ones that you guys had down there. Those were good. The ones that expired.
Yeah.
That's probably why my nose is running. Thank you for the donation, Matthew. Finally, someone who understands that noodles gotta be spicy.
Yes. Gotta have the spicy noodles.
If you like Cards Against Humanity, what do you mean? Yes, my friend owns What Do You Mean, and she has a couple expansions. We play that too. So, we played that about a month ago
Yes.
with the kids.
Yep.
So hi Nick. Have you watched Louis Rossman's video about outdoor dining? No, have not.
If he does a tech or maybe a business video, I'll watch it. I don't watch all of his stuff. I've watched a few things Lewis does. I like him. I think he's a good YouTuber, but I don't know everything he does.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we don't have a whole lot of restraint. I know a lot of people in this area keep going down to Toledo to eat out or to go to the restaurants and stuff since they're still open, which is funny because I work down there and I still won't eat there.
Yeah.
And I still got sick.
Yep.
Because of you.
Because of me. Such is life.
I know, right?
What are you going to do?
I don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go home and put some pajamas on and go to bed soon. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So one other thing, a few people have asked me about reviewing the TP-Link. I did look a little bit at the TP-Link and the way they make their Wi-Fi devices. It's interesting because now TP-Link offers a self-hosted controller, but I don't know a lot about it. I looked at it briefly, but I've never thought of TP-Link as a quality company. And when I say that, I mean that, like, when I look at this TP-Link that I got, which is a really popular video of me reviewing this little switch, and it's the way they implemented such poor security on this switch. I just don't know that I would trust it outside of basic home use for TP-Link. I also don't know, until I do some testing maybe, whether or not it does any phone home type things. I just don't know. And I don't think I would use them in a commercial space. We've used TP-Link switches, just their dumb switches, quite a bit. Like, they just make an easy, quick, hey, I got to put this switch in somewhere, and it's usually a dumb switch. This is like the only non-dumb TP-Link switch I ever bought, and I was disappointed in the fact that it doesn't do any proper segmentation for the VLANs. You can VLAN hop on it, and you can get to the web interface on it from any. It doesn't respect restrictions because of the way they designed the control plane. They have an extra path that allows it to get there. There's a lot of weird stuff they did that just not secure. It was like, get it done. So that is, at least I may look at it, but yeah. I never used Draytech routers. Pretty much the exact same as the Unify controllers. It does, I know it uses Mongo, and I'm like, interesting. Mongo, I think, is not the best choice for a controller, but whatever.
Thanks for the donation, JSB.
Oh yeah, thank you very much for the donation.
Let's see. Our paid courses, U Academy, or should I stick to YouTube?
I see. This is where I have a harder time. I don't use Udemy, so I don't know. I do IT Pro TV, and I'm happy with them. Matter of fact, while I was not feeling well, I caught up and watched I don't remember exactly, but some number of hours of videos just to catch up on things and refresh things I wanted to know. I don't know. Some people seem to like Udemy. I have no opinion on it because I never used it.
Okay. Have you ever used Draytech routers?
Nope. Never used Draytech. I think I answered that.
Oh, I was ignoring you.
How important is it to earth your patch cables? Aren't switches earthed? Are they plugged in all the way? I imagine a lot of them are, but not all of them. And I guess it depends, but for the most part, it is best design practice to do so. But it's not like when I have something that doesn't have an earth that it has a lot of problems. It can. I mean, there's definitely in certain buildings you'll get a voltage differential. Best practice is to do it. Matter of fact, best practice would be to install an anti-static floor in your server room. I mean, there's all kinds of best practice methods that, given the opportunity, I would love to do. But a lot of times we come into places, and if we don't see it, we're not tearing their entire server room out to relay a anti-static floor and reinstall their entire server room. Usually goes outside the scope of the budget.
Hello from Crosstalk.
What's that?
Hello from Crosstalk.
Hey.
View on Dockers.
I don't know. Docker's okay. I think Docker, as long as you're getting the image from a reputable source, Docker's fine. Don't just pull any random Docker image because it's probably not up to date and it may not be properly maintained.
Any chance you could go over the distinctions and requirements between fast transitions, FT over the air, FT over DS?
I don't understand what exactly you're asking. PoE mini switches when you are looking for them? I don't understand.
I don't know.
I don't understand the question.
Don't
It says,
look at me.
is
My
it
eyes are
worth
watering too bad. I
preferring?
can't even read anymore.
Okay, want me to just read these now?
Actually, yeah, I'm going to take off. I'm going to
Yeah.
let you finish this on your own.
That's fine.
Because I am out of here. I think I've hit my wall for today. So, thanks, guys.
Hey,
Happy New Year, since I didn't see you on New Year's Day, since, I was dying. So, take care. I'm going to go home.
looking for mini switches, is it worth preferring PoE? I guess if you need PoE, it's worth getting PoE. So, does your use case require PoE? I don't understand that as a question, I guess. Client PC vendor, usually Lenovo. Those little Lenovos, those mini ones have been awesome. Oh, switches powered by PoE? No, I'm not a huge fan of those. They're okay. The Unify Flex ones work. They can get the job done. Can you do my job for free? No. Make sure you lock the door behind you.
I will. Bye.
Yes, Serve the Home did a video about those mini PCs. They definitely work. We use a lot of them. I thought about doing a review on them. It just kind of feels off-brand for my channel. Nick Greed, thank you for the $10 donation. And awesome that you are enjoying the TrueNAS at home. I wouldn't use an edge router for 2020. OpenSense is a fork of pfSense. If it makes you happy, use it. I don't use it. I don't have a use case for it. I just use the people that wrote the original as opposed to the people that did the fork. Yeah, Lenovo's usually do work with, specifically, I'm using a ThinkPad L480, so yes, Lenovo's do frequently work with Linux quite well. Should I eBay and get two of the new? I don't know why you'd want, if you already have a switch, do you need something that the aggregation switch offers that the other one doesn't? Because then I'm not understanding why you'd want to change them. How ironic, Greed is donating. Yes, that is actually funny. What to host on a Raspberry Pi? Whatever makes you happy. As an open source advocate, you think OpenSense is a better choice because pfSense is closing. That does not hold water. That is not a statement that is based in fact. And matter of fact, the folks at pfSense, people look at them as this big, bad company. Do you know that some of the BSD developers work there? And they develop BSD in an unpaid fashion, but they develop pfSense in a paid fashion. You take some companies like OpenSense, I don't know this, I don't know how many BSD developers they employ, but do they employ any? Or is it just an open source product? And I don't see pfSense as closing. They do make a commercial product, their TNSR, but that does not mean that their pfSense is closing. I don't know. people just like to say things, I guess, without any basis in fact. How come I went for an L series instead of a T series? Because it was on sale. I've done a review on System 76 laptops. I really like them. I just couldn't beat the price of this. So, yes. I'm not getting a new laptop anytime soon. I don't have, like, this laptop does everything I need it to. So I don't have this driving need to have anything faster. Matter of fact, this laptop is idle 99% of the time. I say that because, like, I just don't run heavy workloads on there. Do you set up any Snmp monitoring on UniFi devices? No, I just use the UniFi dashboard. So I don't, I mean, that's the thing. People asked me about that before, and I'm like, why? I mean, if I have the UniFi dashboard, what more do I need? Is there some benefit? And I mostly need to know if a device goes offline at a client. That's 99% of the time the only thing I even care about. Is it working or is it not working? Yes, IX Systems also employs BSD developers. Matter of fact, IX Systems and the Netgate company are like the glue holding the BSD together in some ways, because both of them are the two largest products championing the development of BSD. That's it. There's not really anyone that's a close third. Those two projects heavily dependent. This is why it's so scary probably for the BSD world to see IX Systems developing TrueNAS Scale, because they're modularizing the Python middleware and bringing it over to Linux. And obviously that's something that's going to weigh heavy on the BSD people going, do we still keep working on BSD? And they will for at least the foreseeable future, because there's support contracts. You probably got another 10 years, so you have to look far down the future. It's not like if they release TrueNAS Scale tomorrow, BSD would suffer greatly from it, because the release cycles are slow and long. But it's something to look at coming down the road. LAN bridging work reliably? I don't know. I don't understand what you're trying to do, so I'm not sure how to. That's probably a more detailed answer would be in our forums. Open source cloud mapping for clients, virtual drive mapping. I don't know. You could use Zero Tier to map Windows drives. That's Zero Tier is actually kind of a neat solution, because you can run SMB over it. Do you use network isolation much for the Chromecast? Yes, no? Probably not in the way people think. The Chromecast and my phone go on the same network. My laptop on the same network as the Chromecast, so I can Chromecast things. So maybe, I mean, it's not like the Chromecast is really an attack vector. We have a separate secure network where we don't Chromecast, where we keep our PCs that do work management stuff. UniFi Polar with Grafana. Use it if it makes you happy. If you need the statistics, I think it's cool. I mean, if you need those stats, then absolutely. Yeah, Netflix actually runs on BSD as well. The core servers run on that. So that Netflix is probably another place that I don't know how much where their dependency came from. Could they switch? I don't know. I know they built infrastructure on BSD, but yeah. The massive networking performance of BSD will come to Linux. They have come to Linux in very specific situations. Matter of fact, the what do you call it? The really high-end 100 gigabit type of network devices run special versions of Linux. And it was developed by the folks over at Facebook and the Open Source Consortium. I'm trying to remember, I've thought about doing a video on it. It's kind of an interesting thing that happened where some of these large companies, Azure, Google, Amazon, and Facebook, all have data center challenges at scales higher than the average consumer market. So they've had to put development time into specialized Linux infrastructure handling tools and specialized hardware to run it on. So there's actually some interesting Linux tools that can do specialized things like that. Zero tier is an extra adapter on your computer. So I can't just say that it's like a layer 2. It's an extra device added to your computer that offers an IP address that is routable. Opinion on 2.5-inch SSD boxes? No. Yeah, Roku offers like Chromecast too, I think. They have like a casting and an AirPlay thing they do. I don't care for the USG Pro or the USG. I prefer pfSense. Do I bother installing a firewall on my laptop? Yes, I do. I think I did a video on that about firewalling firewalling Linux. I use the firewall config. Matter of fact, I can pull it up here for those of you that may want to see it. By default, it always is set up to the. I think I did a video on this. Is easy. It's built into Ubuntu for rules, but it rejects everything. That's how it is always set. Allow outgoing, reject all incoming. I have no ports open on my laptop because I never have a need to have ports open on my laptop. With very random, obscure things, if I have some weird test environment and my laptop is the only device I have that I can set up to listen, I'll create a firewall and I'll create a listening port to listen because I need some piece of thing to come into my laptop. But it's a pretty rare circumstance. Like I had a listener I set up with Netcat just so I can listen to a port because I'm like, well, this isn't working. I'll try it locally. I'll use my laptop, and I created a hole in my firewall to have Netcat listen because I wanted to see the responses. Like that's my limitations of it. So, but yes, the firewall is always up on there. My laptop is designed to go into hostile environments. PDP platform like Storage A being more mature, dependable enough. I don't use Storage A, so I don't know. What is the best used ThinkPad for network engineers and network security? I think you can find devices like this L480 for relatively cheap. It has 2 USB-C, a full-size RJ45 network adapter jack on here. And that's all I really need. And I love a good keyboard. That's my big thing. And it's actually kind of handy when you have a laptop that goes like this. Goes full up. There's times when it's just convenient to set it on something like this to be able to see it. But yeah, it's not like, I don't think the engineering requirements are too steep on these. And because I wander around with it, holding it like this, your Lenovo series laptops have a pretty solid frame in them. The ThinkPads do. So they don't fall apart too bad. Yes, custom ASICs in the data center, yes. Yeah, screen mirroring in Windows 10 is, I forget what it's called, Miracast or something? Yeah. Yeah, the standard UFW. You don't need to reinvent the firewall. Just use what's built in because it works and there's not a problem with it with Linux. So, I have not spent much time hacking my Tesla, but we have definitely spent time hacking Tesla with some friends that are car hackers. Any updates on Unify Protect controller? I don't know. I told it, we know it's not loading the latest update, and I haven't really dug into it. We just turned updates off. That's the stupid solution, I know. But it's not publicly exposed, so I'm not super worried about it. I'm just going to fix it later. On-demand cloud file storage. Google Drive works good. OneDrive, there's a lot of options. I don't really have an opinion on them. Is there a way to Unify Protect locally without cloud access on a Unvr? Yes. Just we access it through our VPN. So I don't have my Unify NVR publicly exposed because I'm always VPN'd in when I want to get to it. Thoughts on a Unify 6 APs? Watch Chris from Crosstalk's video. PFSense on a white box switch, will it work? Sure. What do I think about Secure Boot? I don't know. It exists. I use it if you need Secure Boot. Enterprise grade self-hosted file sync for users. Sync thing. Recent update to the Gen 2 Plus. Yeah, the Gen 2 Plus now supports the door system. The Dream machines have the login cloud to configure them. The NVR, I don't remember. Watch my video on it. I can't remember. I think you do. We always do log into the cloud because we want the clients to have the remote access through it. What's the best practice for segregating the pie hole? Put it on your network where things that you want to access it can access it. So I don't understand it as a question. If you segregate it from the other devices but you also want those devices to talk to it, they can't. So you have to write firewall rules to allow it to be talked to, and only allow port 53 if that's all you want the pie hole to do. IDS, IPS for clients, certain times we do, depends. I've done videos in Errata. If you want a better, more automated way to set up IDS, that's where I do videos. I don't do that many videos on Untangle. Untangle's kind of a set it and forget it because it's a paid managed solution. So when we put Untangle firewalls and we check the IDS box and manage it through their cloud dashboard. I don't know if I would do a video on security risks of inexpensive network devices because it's very convoluted and complicated. Like I talked about it in the video for this device, but then then all it does is lead to a million people asking me, but what about this model number? What about this model number? And then even this one got confusing because someone said that this revision has a problem that's not in the other revisions. So this one of the problems you just have with cheap devices is there's more than, even though they call it the same thing, you have to flip it over. Matter of fact, there's a good discussion over on my forums about all the different versions of MikroTik, which also led to some confusion to me. I didn't realize some of the MikroTiks, even though they say the same model number, there's big differences in the revisions, and this person's a big MikroTik person, so they were explaining what all the different versions mean and when you should or shouldn't use which versions, et cetera, because of this, that, and the other. And I'm like, wow, that's complicated. And this is something you can say for, like, I'm dragging them over here a little bit, like these Cisco's right here. There's too many wires, I don't want to move them. The way the Cisco's right here work, you get a much more consistent product with Cisco or some of them. You don't have to deal with, well, which board revision model number, even though they call them all the same, these features work or this security problem exists with this board revision. The MikroTik switch revisions, too confusing. Yeah, I read that person who wrote a really in-depth post and I was like, oh God, that's not easy. I did a video on Pi signage if you want to know how to do store screen setup displays. Pi signage, it's on my channel. NAT is used for port forwarding. Firewall rules are for getting data between two different networks, two different subnets. NAT is to get a pinhole between it. So are you saying, do you want the data to flow between two separate networks based on a rule? Or are you saying you want something to be natted so it hits it and then nats? Natting and firewall is a different thing. they're similar. There's different use cases. What's a good easy software tool to use? Wavemon. I use that on my Linux system, and I've done all my stuff with Wavemon. Or on your phone, you can get the Wi-Fi Man software. I think it's called Wi-Fi Man still. Yeah, let me find that software. Yeah, Wi-Fi Man. That's the UniFi one. Ubiquity. They do the cool for just checking for signal. Should run PF Blocker and Snort together if they make you feel more secure. The problem with running Snort is we get a lot of people to do this. They're home users. They watched my video on Errata or Snort. They turn it up and they crank it up to the max, and then everything's broken. And I'm like, yeah, you now have to tune the rules. And then they start realizing what little benefit it offers of seeing network, and then they panic of every time it gets a false positive and blocks something. So do you want to run it? Do you want to manage it? That's really what it comes down to. That's no easy answer there. So PF Blocker is a little bit simpler, but I just ran into a problem today. LinkedIn and a few other common sites ended up on the malicious list. So the block list, even those can be a pain to run in PF Blocker. USB over IP, I don't know. There's some adapters, I think, that they sell that do USB over IP. It's not something I've looked at in years. Log management, gray log. You run Errata but never check anything. You are like most people then. They turn it on and you never look. Using a /24 on the VLAN is just a convenient way to use the VLAN ID in the subnet. Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to do something that's, you get to design it yourself. So you make like the third octet the VLAN ID. That's sometimes really convenient. It restricts the VLAN numbers you can use because the third octet will not go to the same range as the VLANs. But yeah, it's kind of an easy, simple way to set up the VLANs and understand the understand what network you're on. I think Ubiquity is definitely way easier for the home network. Meraki's not bad, but they're also, it's more confusing for people. The Switch OS makes it easier, but if you're using the full router OS, like just setting things up are a little confusing because you have to go to so many places to get something to work. Just use the whole /0. I like that's a good answer. Just use the whole thing. I don't need this expanded anymore like I had. I had it expanded so my wife could see it. So now I've consolidated everything back into one place right here. That makes it easier to see. Let's see. Apparently the Meraki VPN stuff is amazingly easy. I don't think anything is amazingly easy on Meraki. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't think I've seen too many amazingly easy things when it comes to the way they do stuff. Matter of fact, one of the challenges is just figuring out when someone says which switch with Meraki, their site does not make it, like, I can't just check a box and say, oh, here's all their switches that have 4 10 gig ports in it or something like that. Last time I looked, it was a little bit confusing. They're all, yeah, I think we are ready for some company to develop a better switching software so we can learn something completely new. I know you can make a switch out of Vios. It's not cost effective, by the way. It's cheaper to buy a switch than it would be to stick a bunch of network cards into something. But I wouldn't mind seeing something in maybe Vios is the answer and find more things that can run Vios on switching hardware and build a better open source switch with some type of management. So, yeah. We don't have any, well, yes, no on clients using microwave. I indirectly have clients. We have internal IT teams that happen to be using microwaves, but we didn't configure them. They're internal IT teams. We did the mounting. We actually ran the stuff, and for the microwave stuff, we just didn't configure it because their internal IT team did it. So we've actually done the structure part, but not the tuning part of the microwave. Meraki have a decent interface, but there's some real pain stuff. We just had to deal with a bunch of problems with Meraki that we had to solve. I need Steve on here to do that talk because Steve told me all the dumb problems with Meraki, and I don't want to misquote him, but there are certainly some weird issues to deal with that makes Meraki kind of a pain sometimes. Later, and you're welcome for all the nerd talk. You don't want to tick in the network. Yeah, the micro ticks definitely, they don't just have a learning curve. They kind of have a weird way they do stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, Meraki's fine if you just have money for licenses. That's probably a good way to put it. Do you let your staff sticker up their laptops? Yeah, absolutely. There's matter of fact, my staff just bought it. Looking over, there's a pile. I don't even know what they bought. They bought a bunch of stickers. I don't know where they got them from, Amazon or something. I don't care. They can put stickers on stuff. They got stickers on everything. I was actually, people always seem to complain about that, and I also realize most of the time the people who go, I don't like that, are usually the network people I don't get along with. They're I don't know. Oh, Monster Hunter World stickers. Kyle's on there. I just don't like the overly stuffy wear a shirt and tie culture that comes in some offices. There are also the people who are never, to me, innovative. There are some of the MSPs that focus on everything being absolutely cookie cutter homogenized, and that's fine. There's a place for that. It's just not around me because it sounds really, it's uninteresting. I mean, it works, and if your goal was to build a homogenized network that just makes money for you by servicing it with absolutely no innovation and exactly the same cookie cutter all the time, sure. It's not what I want to do, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it. It's not where my interest lies. It wouldn't be something I want to do. And those are often the people that criticize things like stickers on laptop and shirts with cats on it. But I like shirts with cats on it that say Cat 6 with 6 cats because that makes me happier. So I would rather do that. And I'm doing, we make money, we do stuff, and I have a stickered up laptop and large companies that contract us for engineering projects. Let's see. Does UDM pull device host names easily, or are they specific prereq? I don't understand. Unify Dream Machine poll devices. IBM would not approve. Yeah. Most of my customers want someone who is competent, not someone who is able to put on a shirt. Well, my clients do prefer we have shirts on. They just don't seem to mind if those shirts have cats. I like the root shirt too. I need to wash it. I I go through, I have like a collection of all the same shirts. So I cycle through them. I organize things in the closet. I'm down to all the cat shirts, but I'm down to only a couple more cat shirts, but the other shirts are dirty. So when I wash them, I'll start the process over. And you'll see Tom for several days in a row wearing root shirts until I get back to the cat shirts. I should probably alternate them a little bit, but I'm much more of a creature of habit. Thanks IBM for killing CentOS. Yeah, that happens. When it's not my hair, when it's not in a ponytail, is messy. That's a short, easy way to describe it. What else was I thinking about? Was it tail scale or... Try to figure out which one. I don't know. Nebula videos are coming. That much I can say. I will be doing some tutorials on Nebula. That is up and coming. But let me pull that up because I was working with it today. Matter of fact, if I do this, I should sync it. If I do this and this and this. Action restart. For those wondering how I do things. That will resync because I did a bunch of Nebula changes, and this is how I will pull them back to my laptop with SyncThing. I just fired it up. SyncThing works so good for doing this type of stuff, but it's resyncing from my VPN across the internet because this talks to home. I've done a video on SyncThing. My laptop specifically only talks to home right now, but what's interesting is you can run the Nebula system on both the you can run it simultaneously with zero tier, which is actually kind of interesting. I was playing with the fact that you can keep adding more Nebula adapters and zero tier adapters all to the same computer. One builds tunnels in one way. There's some nuances I gotta articulate better to make sure people understand, because there's also some challenges I had setting it up as I wanted to test it in BSD. So I did get it working in BSD, but I don't know why I have to rename the tunnel device to tunnel. I think it only works in BSD if I call it TUN2. You have to specifically name it that, and I don't know why, but I know that's what fixed it. So I got to make some notes for people that want to get this set up in BSD, because it is compiled for a lot of different things. It's something I do like, and I like it also because Nebula is going to offer people ways to get access to things without exposing ports and security problems. So, do you prefer Nebula because it's self-hosted over zero tier? So the challenge comes down to who owns the control plane. People keep asking about Tailscale. They own the control. They are using WireGuard for a control plane, but they are also the managers of it. So you have to have some level of trust. I think if there's anything we always should be working towards, it's always figuring out how we can move closer to a zero trust model. This is why I use traditional VPNs so often, is because a traditional VPN means I only trust the device, such as a pfSense box, and its endpoint, such as my laptop. So I owned everything in between. I just set up the pfSense and configured the firewall and configured the VPN, and then I took that VPN certificate that I generated on my pfSense and brought that certificate over here to my laptop and installed it. There are no third parties of trust involved in that chain. When you look at something that has a third party of trust, such as Zero Tier, which is awesome, great product. Now you have a web interface that I log into over on Zero Tier where I choose which computers get to be added to my control plane. Now Zero Tier does not get to see the traffic because it's encrypted from endpoint to endpoint. That's a cool feature. It's open source and you can audit the fact that that's true. But Zero Tier, through their web interface, if someone were to get in there, they could add another device to my Zero Tier network. Obviously, it would require them compromising Zero Tier, but now you're adding a layer of trust in your connections. So that is my preference when you can do things in a self-hosted manner. And, then you're going, okay, cool, I can self-host it. That means, once again, I'm generating the certificates myself. I am passing their certificates to the devices and joining them, and no one else has access to the control plane because I didn't set it up for external access. Matter of fact, when you build these, I did them all with completely local access. Well, I did do one system in the cloud, and voila. So let's see. Zero tier run in user land so they can hit performance. You actually run faster if you're in kernel space, not user space. So Apache Cloud Stack versus Zen servers. Not really. I don't have a use case for it. Nextcloud is a much more advanced product than SyncThing. SyncThing is the most basic, but SyncThing does enough revisioning to keep me happy. And it comes down to use case. Do you need more revisioning? Maybe that's you need a whole lot of it, or maybe you don't. This is always what it comes down to. If it doesn't fit your use case because you need more revisioning, then you should probably use something else. I'm trying to think if does it have the revisions, and I don't think I have them turned on this. I have to find something that I've got them turned on. Where is that? Is it 1.4? I think I have I'm going to show how the revisioning works inside of SyncThing. There we go. I'm trying to see before I do this. These are some of the... this one's probably way easier to... Oh, no revisioning turned on that. Versions, there we go. Look at that. Hold on. Here we go. This one's safe to show without revealing things. The versioning, and this is within the systems here. So here's what the versioning looks like inside of SyncThing, where I can go, hey, look at this particular version. I can restore this old version of this particular file if I wanted to. So there is versioning in here, and it's pretty simple the way it works if you have it turned on. So I think it's adequate. Is it right-click inside of a context menu inside the UI of like whatever file browser you're using, whether that be Windows Explorer, Nautilus, and Linux? No, it's not. SyncThing does not tie into that. It's completely handled on the back end for revisions. So for me, this is adequate because it's not that often I want the old version of a file. I have really screwed up if I want the old version of the file. And if I have screwed up in some way that I need the old version, I don't mind going here and restoring a version that I have listed where I can go ahead and restore to this version from 12.31 or restore for this version from 12.28. So it comes down to use case, and for my use case, that works. These are critical files to me that I keep revisions of for X amount of days. I let it auto purge. It's part of the data backup solution and just how I handle files. And for example, the work I'm doing on Nebula or any network engineering work, I may be doing it on my laptop. I may be doing it on my desktop. So I have SyncThing turned on as I create these files or edit any of my bash scripts or little notes that I keep. They're automatically being saved and updated. So when I was in my office doing the Nebula documentation, all I knew is as soon as I fired up SyncThing on my laptop, I knew it would sync and pull and have the latest Nebula documentation that I'm working on. But that may not fit your use case. That's why there's lots of different tools out there. Let's see. Let's see. Fiber Ninja, yeah, he does some cool stuff if you want to watch long-form cabling. He does a nice job of cleaning up cabling, and there is definitely a popularity of doing that. So, can SyncThing work one way? Yes, it can. You can tell it to like sync one way without syncing back the other. There's a couple like read-only style features that you can do inside of SyncThing. In Enterprise, you can't beat... You can't best SharePoint. The complexities that come with SharePoint also. SharePoint's obviously a much more commercially developed Microsoft product with licensing attached to it. So it's also just a level of complexity higher than what I need. It's funny because we have clients using SharePoint. We have more than half of our clients use Office 365 and have integrations with their business with it. So these are tools I may use, but yeah, if you just get started with SharePoint, it's not for the uninitiated. It is something that you will take time. Matter of fact, some companies hire SharePoint consultants to come in and set up all the structure for them, then to start using it and build their workflows. That's not uncommon because SharePoint is not like just a drop-in file syncing type solution at all. It's not really on the same level of comparison. Very different use case for a very different tool. Smash the like button, people. I don't think Fiber Ninja is making videos, and Fiber Ninja, I think, ran into the same problem that a lot of us would run into. I have a lot of medical clients and things like that. I can't take cameras in. He was able to take cameras in places, but I would probably be in trouble for taking cameras in places, so we don't. It is too difficult to film at a lot of places. Yes, MS Teams is a front end for SharePoint. There's a lot you can do with SharePoint. I'm not a big fan of it myself, but I've never been a fan of any of the Microsoft stuff. Like, that goes back forever. It isn't like I stopped being a fan yesterday of Microsoft. I was never a fan of the Microsoft stuff. That's coming up on 2 hours, and I do have to get back to things like, well, working on the video for Nebula and working on the details of Nebula. There's a lot to cover there. Yeah, a lot of places are certainly afraid to leave Microsoft. They don't want to deal with they don't want to deal with users and change, because if users have a bunch of stuff that changes on them, nothing goes well. On-prem Exchange, yeah. I quit using Windows probably 11 or 12 years ago. So it's been a long time since I used Windows. William Daughtery, thank you for donating. It is greatly appreciated. Yeah, Visual Studio is popular. I don't use it, but not a bad tool. I'm going to shut this down at about the 2 hour mark, which means 10 minutes from now. Just giving people a heads up. Time is money, and having 1,000 users learn something can quickly get you an expense. Well, and especially end users aren't like us. The end users want to come in, punch the buttons that they're used to punching, and go home at 5 o'clock. They don't want to come in and learn they have to do something different, because often learning to do something different, if the owners did not give them time to do something different, they expect them still to do their current job at the same performance level, but also do it with a different tool than they were using before. And you watch the users revolt. They do not, the majority of people don't like change in general. The general end users are like, oh great, those tech people have come up with something different for me to do, and I'm unhappy with this. And anyone who's dealt with any enterprise change and ERP change, yeah, they know it's bad. Don't you love people throwing money at me? Yes. There are a lot of people that need help right now in tech. That is for sure. I will bring these up. It seems off-brand for me to do a review on them, but people have asked about these. These are the Aftershocks bone induction. If you notice, they're not in my ears. They're on my head. This came up in one of my IT forum discussions, the IT Business Owners group over on Facebook. And it's kind of interesting because it's really nice to be able to hear everything around you, but then be able to push sound into your head. And they're one of those things, like people ask where any of the knowledge or something I talk about comes from. I listen to a lot of podcasts, And these are very handy. Also, sometimes when I'm out and about, I like to be able to I like to be aware of my surroundings or if I'm at a client. And this is just so convenient, so I can still hear people talking to me if I need to, but when I'm just mundanely doing something, I can just go beep and play whatever podcast I want and keep listening to it. They're really good. And they actually, very, very comfortable. Kyle has them too. One of my staff here, LTS Kyle, is commenting. Kyle has them, and he'll tell you, and I told Kyle this, one of the best reasons to get them is if you need to go outside, go for a walk to get a little bit of exercise. If you listen to a podcast, you will walk further because you want to get to the end of the podcast. And if you're just walking with music, you can always just stop at any time. But if you find really good quality, engaging podcasts, you go, man, I'm just going to keep walking until this episode's over. And then sometimes another episode starts and you're like, okay, no, they do not isolate, but that's actually what I don't like. I do not like when the world disappears. I put isolating headphones on and I'm bothered by them a lot. I'm disturbed by isolating headphones because I feel cut out from the world around me, and I don't want to be cut out from the world around me, especially if I'm out and about walking somewhere. Do I have a link where to buy them? I think you can buy them on Amazon. If you use any of my Amazon, click on my Amazon affiliate link. If you click on one Amazon affiliate link, anything you add to the cart after that will put that in there. Yes, bone conduction headphones. Yes, Darknet Diaries is amazing. What's your TrueNAS FreeNAS experience with all SSD? Good. There's not really a durability problem with SSDs. An OS called iGel. Nope, not familiar with it. What else do we have in here? Yeah, I should do a video on the myth of SSDs wearing out because you wrote log files to them. It really is just kind of a myth. Well, now the SSD is not working after a certain date. That was, who was it? Was it Seagate? One of the companies they had a bad firmware. It had nothing to do with anything specific to SSD technology. It was just garbage firmware. That's a different problem. They only lasted a certain amount of days before the firmware broke. So that was just that could have just as easily happened on a non-SSD. It was a firmware controller problem, not something related to specific of the SSD. Yeah, that was HP. Okay. Garbage firmware. Yeah, bad enterprise firmware. That is the worst place to have bad firmware. It's one thing to screw the consumers, but the businesses get really angry because they have lawyers. Yeah, it was a timing thing. The firmware only lasted an X amount of hours, I think it was. It's been a while since I've seen that, so. Yeah, they have to be careful in the enterprise. Zyke sells garbage. I've not been ever a fan of their products, and the back doors they put in their products, which was, by the way, I actually believe them that it wasn't nefarious. Because here's the problem with the Zyxel. And if you take a Zyxel and you look at every time I've run into it, it's where someone had the most budget tech. And they're usually the budget client that wants to spend $0 on everything. So they hire a budget tech, and the budget techs look for the cheapest solution. They get the Zyxel, and they're very budget friendly, and then they never update them. And then Zyxel's reputation gets worsened by these budget techs because then there's a security problem, and everyone's like, look at all these infected Zyxels, and everyone's like, yeah, we had a security problem, and nobody updated anything because once they're installed, they never get touched. So that problem persists. They thought, hey, we'll put a firmware in that updates, but we don't know how good security practices work, so we'll just write a backdoor in it. So I think it's a terrible idea. I'm not excusing it. I just think they didn't do it for nefarious reasons. I think they tried to get their stuff updated and just did it in the most dumb way possible. Do you think Ubiquity is spread too thin? No. I mean, it's hard writing this. There's no company. You look at the kind of budget Cisco has and how difficult these stupid things are to get configured properly. The Cisco Cat 1000s that are just off screen here. You've got a just absolute massive company that has a hard time writing software. All these companies have a hard time writing network software because network engineers and software developers are not always one and the same person. Therefore, it is difficult to write this software at a quality level. It's the nature of it. I wouldn't say that Unify is getting worse. It's just as we deploy Unify in more complex situations, that's always where the problems occurred. So it's not like everyone had a problem when they upgraded to 6. People with specific VLANs and Wi-Fi LAN groups and everything else, people with all these complex configurations had problems. So if you only used Unify for its original, especially if you look at how Unify started and where they are when they had a smaller feature set, the upgrade path is easy. It's not that Unify is, they do have some quality control issues with software, but so do a lot of other companies, and not necessarily defending that, but it is what it is. And people's more complex use cases were more challenging for these programmers to write for. There's always going to be firmware updates. All these companies have it. Even, MikroTik. You read the Errata on the MikroTik updates, you're scratching your head at some of the weird stuff that they have to fix in theirs. All these companies have it. You even look at Palo Alto. Look at Palo Alto's list of CVEs. You're talking about a very large enterprise company. Fortinet, holy crap. What the hell were they thinking? I did a rant on them because of how poor their coding practices are. They're a publicly traded. They're also FIPS compliant. FIPS compliant, which means for the government standards, publicly traded, installed in governments, and have garbage for their updates. And you're just like, how did you guys screw things up this bad? Look at their CVEs. They're not like someone found a really complex hack. It's like they did something really stupid over at FortiGate that got called out. That is the problem. Especially I think it's called the Magic VPN. The Magic VPN. That is a absolute coding goof up of epic proportions that occurred in a publicly traded company. Not that that's ever happened before, like it did 2 weeks ago. So it's just, it's not like Ubiquity is alone in this. Publicly traded companies that are substantially bigger than Ubiquity with government contracts are also bad at this. So I don't know who's good at it. How's that? So we're all bitter in tech because at some point you spend enough time in tech, you're like, all these companies are terrible at it, and that's our job, so. People pay to QA UBI's EA devices for them. Yeah. But, people like to play with new hardware. I think there's a lot of us in tech who like to tinker with things, so we don't mind the fact that, we buy some of this hardware that may be early release, but whatever. It's fun tinkering with it. Let's get Tom to Nebula video. Yeah, I am wandering off to that, because what time is it now? How long? Oh, I have gone 2 hours. I was ranting about stuff, so. Now, pfSense, this has been the complaint. So, pfSense does develop slow. There was a thread started over in my forums. Is pfSense dead? It looks like it's taking a long time for their updates. I'm like, far from it. They're not dead. The problem is they develop methodically, carefully, and slowly. And I am thankful for that because when there's a pfSense update, despite people losing their minds, there was a PHP problem, but anyone who actually read the notes before updating didn't have the problem, where they said, hey, you should remove this particular I forget which one it was. I think it might have been NTOP. You had to remove, this is a couple of years ago, you had to remove one of the packages per their instruction prior to update to not have a problem. And so pfSense is very methodical and careful, so when their updates come, that they work. And this is one of the reasons pfSense has really held such a popular opinion among a lot of high-end network engineers, especially data center people who go, no, I really like this in my data center because as a firewall sitting in front of things, this just works. It works in HA. The updates do not destroy everything. The updates are slow and careful and deliberate. And the overall update process may be slower, but that is what leads to more stability. Let's see. pfSense and BGP. Yes, pfSense supports BGP. I believe it has 2 different BGP plugins on there. I actually might do a video on BGP. There's a way you can build internal BGP routes and show how it works. Yeah, firewalls you want stable and you want secure. I would say security first and stability second, but those are like the 2 things that matter the most, because home users are going, I need the latest feature. Give me WireGuard. Oh my God, I have to switch away from pfSense because they don't have WireGuard. I'm like, hey, that's fine. I care more about security than I care about WireGuard. And I don't really have, I just transferred all of my updates in all of about 15 seconds, maybe 30, by firing up Sync thing, VPNing from here to my house during this live stream and syncing all the files. It's like OpenVPN is perfectly fast enough for that for me. And by the way, I'm only running an SG2100 at home, pfSense, like the actual Netgate box. So it doesn't really take a whole lot to work. Heard someone say that people recently moved away from pfSense. I imagine, I mean, that's one of the fun things about pfSense. They don't track who's using it, so we don't know who comes and goes away from pfSense. There's always someone who got mad at pfSense and moved to something else, but whatever. OpenVPN is stable, reliable, predictable. How do I feel about the Protect Tele hardware? It seems to work. I don't have a problem with the Protect Tele hardware. It's built on Intel. It's passively cooled. Well, at least all the ones I've seen. I don't know every model is, but at least all the ones I've seen. So it seems to be a solid product. Keep your BGP private. No way. I'm going to do a public BGP. Can I do a Stunnel guide? I don't use it, so not likely. I don't really have a use case for Stunnel. I kind of know what it does. I've just never used it because nothing has ever made me look at it and go, I need to use that. So I do know Netgate have trouble in Europe. Everyone tells me how expensive they are in Europe, so that's that's something it's outside of my realm of understanding of why they don't have the ability to get things imported cheaper. I just don't know why. I just know people from Europe tell me that pfSense is more expensive there. That was a discussion I've seen a few other people talk about, so I learned too, speaking about Mac Telecom Networks, is that yes, the you Canadians get randomly charged higher for things on Amazon. I remember that being a discussion with a Canadian friend. They wanted to talk about how to get things shipped here, like physically my office, and then they would drive across the border and pick them up. And I said, I don't think I want to participate in that. Big price jump in Norway too. Yeah, that's just going to have to, yes. Duty charges and all that? Yes. Do I whole house VPN? No, I don't do a whole house VPN. I don't need to. You know, the part I don't understand about VPNs, this is what I'll leave you with because someone will tell me I'm wrong, but that's fine. I thought I may make a separate video and rant about this. You're so afraid of your internet provider, let's say Comcast, because that's who's my internet provider here, or Wide Open West is my internet provider at home. And you're going, but Tom, I need to pay someone else to hide my traffic so there's no potential way that Comcast can monetize it. And I'm like, what? I don't understand that. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's not that valuable of data for Comcast, and let me explain why. Comcast, if they could watch the traffic, because they can, watching the traffic leave here or at home, Wide Open West, and they watch the traffic that leaves, what knowledge do they gain? They know what websites I went to. They know what websites I went to is kind of a misleading. They know what websites people behind my IP address, my kids, my wife, they know how much Netflix my wife watches. Okay, so I should pay a third party to hide that. How do I know that third party's not stealing that data too and selling it? You kind of see what I'm saying. Now, a good reason to use VPN. You have some type of lock you need to get around, like a country lock based on IP address. There's a VPN idea. You want to seed some torrents for your favorite Linux distribution. That's probably a good reason to use a VPN because none of the ISPs like torrenting. Those are good reasons to use it. But privacy, I think, is overrated and oversold by people like these VPN companies that just want to push sales. And that's one of the reasons you don't see me shucking VPNs to all the time like a lot of the other YouTubers. So yeah, whole home VPN is not something that, yeah, absolutely. You should seed your favorite Linux distribution. Linux ISOs, lots of, yes. How do Linux ISOs work over VPN when you need NAT? I don't know. I don't understand that question. Anyways, I'm going to wander off because I'm going to go do some other things. Yes, this is brought to you by Public Internet Access. Matter of fact, there was recently a VPN company shut down by law enforcement. And it's funny because if you dig into some of the sting operations and read through court filings, and you'll find some of these VPN companies, when they realized that the VPN company was being used for something nefarious, they would... I had my shoes off. I was putting them back on for those wondering why I'm standing up. Anyways, you will dig into court records and find, and I thought about digging into some of this and having a discussion about it. You'll find where VPN companies were subpoenaed and then had to cooperate with law enforcement quietly. And then they would track all the logins of all the people that were in there. Now, law enforcement has a narrow scope that they would be granted to look for a specific user doing a specific thing, but it's not like they wouldn't take the time to reveal that user. And of course, they could then start revealing everybody, and then they would shut down these VPN services, which was recently done. So you're really only pushing the trust. You're saying, I don't trust Comcast not to try to monetize the data. But the reality is, you get better monetization from a collection standpoint by knowing what Tom does, not what some IP address does. What some IP address does is actually not particularly relevant to the websites. What is relevant to them, though, is my browsing habits so they can target me. They don't target backwards by the IP address as much. They want to target the user through tracking cookies. Tracking cookies reveal more about you, which, by the way, a VPN doesn't do anything for. That's where most of the ad tracking goes, and targeted marketing is watching what websites you're logged into and tracking cookies. That is the place where you will be tracked further. And that's why I said VPNs aren't the layer by which are very helpful when it comes to tracking. Your IP address is a very especially when there's a lot of people at your house, not the most information-rich indicator of what's going on. And that's even if they took the time to try to take apart SNI traffic to look up what websites you're going to. So, yeah. In a shared network at a coffee shop, that can be a little bit different. So, I thought they couldn't be subpoenaed for logs they have, but not forced to collect logs they didn't previously collect. Well, that's where everything gets fuzzy, because you don't know when law enforcement was there. When did law enforcement get it? And this was the whole lava bit problem of him shutting his network down when law enforcement got the subpoena, and then they tried to force him to keep LavaBit up and running. And that was the Snowden case. And that's where the confusion comes in, is will the VPN service be compelled not to shut down? They can be gag ordered not to reveal that their network has been tapped, but can they be compelled to stay up and running? Those are the real questions. And if they can, or if they make the decision to stay up and running and they don't inform the users, now the users are suddenly passing all their traffic in a place where it's been compromised, and very specifically compromised by people that need to watch. So you can see where this is really confusing. If you have SNI, has to be specifically eSNI though, so it's a encrypted one. It's not just in 1.3. 1.3 offers perfect forward secrecy, so you can get another layer in there, but you also need eSNI to top that off to completely strip out the web headers. But now we're getting off topic again, and you're talking about a lot of detail to try and pick out what websites to go to and sell it to who. Who wants to buy Tom's public IP address and a list of places it went? How are they going to turn that into actionable data? Or are they going to look at the tracking cookie on my computer and know I visited this site and I visited this site and I was looking at this? Matter of fact, if you look for something and those tracking cookies get on there and then they start bombarding you with ads for visiting. For example, every time I go to ConnectWise, it sets a cookie, and then Facebook, because they had a tracking pixel on there, if I'm logged into Facebook when I did it, Facebook will start showing me more ads for ConnectWise. That's the real tracking, and that's the real value. So, all right. Hopefully that's helpful. Yes, most everything uses HTTPS, but it's the ESNI, the SNI headers where they actually send the domain you're going to. But anyways, like I said, I'm not going to get too far off topic. Thank you for joining. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Smash the like button before you leave, and I'm out of here.